The broken artist. The studio where dreams hide. The needle buzzed in my hand like an angry wasp. I focused on the steady rhythm, letting it drown out everything else. The music, the street noise filtering through the cracked window, the memories that always lurked at the edges of my mind. My studio, ink and phoenix, sat tucked between a laundromat and a Vietnamese restaurant in Brooklyn. Not glamorous, but it was mine. Maya, that's incredible, my client Sarah breathed, watching the rose take shape on her shoulder blade. How do you make it look so real? I smiled without looking up. Practice. Lots of practice. What I didn't tell her was that I'd learned to focus this intensely out of necessity. When your hands shake from old trauma, you either learn perfect control or you find another profession. The burn scars on my left hand caught the light as I worked. Shiny, puckered skin that told a story I never wanted to repeat. The shadow that never left. 3 years ago, Derek Mitchell had been my everything. My boyfriend, my muse, the person I thought I'd spend forever with. But Derek had a problem with anger. And alcohol. And the idea that I belonged to him like property. The night he threw the pot of boiling water at me, I'd been trying to leave. My bags were packed, sitting by the door. He'd begged, cried, promised to change. When I'd said no, when I'd reached for the door handle, that's when his face had transformed into something I didn't recognize. The scars on my hands were from where I'd tried to shield my face. 3 months in the hospital. 2 years of physical therapy to regain full use of my fingers. And countless hours of therapy to stop jumping at loud noises. I'd gotten a restraining order. I'd moved 3 times. I'd changed my number twice. But Derek had a way of finding me. A text here, a glimpse of him across the street there. Never close enough to violate the order, but close enough to remind me he was watching. The stranger in expensive shoes. All done, I announced, wiping down Sarah's new tattoo and covering it with protective film. Remember, keep it clean and moisturized. Sarah paid and left, gushing about how she'd recommend me to everyone. I was cleaning my station when the bell above the door chimed. I glanced up, my standard greeting dying on my lips. The man who entered didn't belong in my world. Everything about him screamed money and power. The tailored charcoal suit that probably cost more than my rent. The Italian leather shoes. The way he moved, like he owned every space he entered. He was tall, maybe 6'3", with dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble. Sharp cheekbones, strong jaw, and eyes so blue they seemed to glow in the dim studio lighting. We're closing in 30 minutes, I managed, finding my voice. But I can schedule you for tomorrow if you'd like. I want you to tattoo me. His voice was deep, with the slightest hint of an accent I couldn't place. Russian, maybe? I was told you're the best artist in the city. That's flattering, but I'm sure there are plenty of artists who could help you. I turned back to my cleaning, uncomfortable with the intensity of his gaze. I don't want plenty of artists. I want you. Something about the way he said it made heat crawl up my neck. What did you have in mind? A full back piece. A phoenix rising from ashes. He stepped closer, and I caught the scent of expensive cologne mixed with something else. Something that made me think of dangerous things. I've seen your work. The detail, the emotion you capture. That's what I need. The proposal. I should have said no. Full back pieces took months, dozens of sessions, hours of intimate contact. But the truth was, I needed the money. My studio barely broke even most months, and my medical bills from the attack were still crushing me. That's a major commitment, I said carefully. We're talking 20 to 30 sessions, maybe more depending on the complexity. It's expensive. Money isn't a concern. He pulled out a business card, sliding it across my counter. Adrian Volkov, CEO, Sentinel Security Solutions. I'll pay double your normal rate. Double? I couldn't hide my surprise. That's not necessary. I disagree. His blue eyes studied me with unsettling focus. I know quality when I see it. And I know desperation when I see it too. I stiffened. I'm not desperate. No? He gestured around the studio. The equipment you're using is at least 10 years old. That autoclave in the corner is making a sound it shouldn't. Your rent is 2 months overdue based on the notices I saw taped to the door when I came in. And you work alone because you can't afford to hire help. You have no right to. I'm observant. It's what keeps me alive in my business. He leaned against my counter, somehow making the casual pose look elegant. I'm not judging you, Maya. I'm offering you a way out. How did he know my name? The sign outside just said Ink and Phoenix. No owner listed. He must have seen the question on my face. I research before I commit to anything. I know you're one of the most talented artists in the city. I know you've overcome incredible obstacles. And I know you could use someone in your corner. The scars he saw. The scars on your hands, he said quietly. Those weren't an accident. My blood ran cold. That's none of your business. You're right. But I recognize defensive wounds when I see them. His expression darkened. Someone hurt you. Badly. I need you to leave. My voice shook despite my best efforts. I'm not here to hurt you, Maya. I'm here to hire you. But I'm also here to tell you that if someone is still threatening you, I can help with that too. Help? What are you, some kind of bodyguard? Something like that. My company provides private security for people who need protection. We're very good at making problems disappear. The way he said disappear sent a chill down my spine. But it wasn't entirely fear. There was something else there. Something that felt dangerously close to hope. Before I could respond, the bell chimed again. My heart stopped. Derek stood in the doorway. The devil returns. He looked the same as always. Sandy hair, green eyes that could be charming or cold depending on his mood. Tonight they were cold. He wore jeans and a leather jacket, his hands shoved in his pockets in a pose that seemed casual, but I knew better. Derek was never casual. He was always calculating. Maya, baby. We need to talk. You need to leave. I moved behind my counter, putting it between us. You're violating the restraining order. I just want to talk. 5 minutes. His eyes slid to Adrian, dismissing him. Alone. The lady asked you to leave. Adrian's voice had gone flat, empty of emotion. Somehow that was more terrifying than if he'd yelled. This doesn't concern you, buddy. Derek took a step forward. This is between me and my girl. I'm not your girl, I said, my voice stronger than I felt. I haven't been for 3 years. Leave, Derek. Now. Or what? You'll call the cops? Derek laughed, but there was no humor in it. They didn't help you last time. They won't help you now. Adrian moved. One moment he was leaning against my counter, the next he was between me and Derek. I hadn't even seen him move. You have 3 seconds to walk out that door, Adrian said quietly. 1. You don't know who you're messing with, Derek snarled. 2. Something in Adrian's stance, in the absolute calm of his voice, made Derek hesitate. I'd seen Derek face down cops without flinching. But now, facing this stranger, he took a step back. This isn't over, Maya, Derek said, his eyes finding mine over Adrian's shoulder. You can't hide from me. 3. Derek left, but not before shooting us both a look that promised violence. The promise of protection. The silence after the door closed felt heavy. I realized I was shaking, my scarred hands gripping the counter so hard my knuckles were white. Breathe, Adrian said gently, turning to face me. You're safe. He's gone. For now. I couldn't stop the tremor in my voice. He always comes back. Not if I have anything to say about it. Adrian pulled out his phone, typing quickly. I'm having 2 of my people posted outside. He won't get near you again. You don't understand. Derek doesn't give up. He's a coward who preys on women he thinks are weaker than him. Adrian's jaw tightened. I understand men like him perfectly. And I know how to handle them. I can't afford bodyguards. You're not hiring them. I am. He met my eyes, and the intensity there stole my breath. Consider it part of my payment for the tattoo. I need an artist who can focus on their work, not one who's looking over her shoulder constantly. Why? The question burst out. Why would you do this for a stranger? His expression shifted, something dark and painful flickering across his features. Because 5 years ago, my sister Elena was killed by her boyfriend. She had a restraining order too. It didn't save her. His hands clenched into fists. I was building my business, too busy to notice she was in trouble. Too focused on success to see she needed help. By the time I realized, it was too late. Adrian, I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. Just let me help you. He stepped closer, and I should have backed away, but I didn't. Let me do for you what I couldn't do for her. The agreement. I thought about the look in Derek's eyes. The way he'd found me again despite all my precautions. The fear that had become my constant companion. And I thought about this stranger offering me something I'd almost forgotten existed, safety. Okay, I whispered. But I have conditions. Name them. This is a business arrangement. You hire me to do your tattoo, you provide security while I work. That's all. No charity, no pity. Agreed. Though I don't pity you, Maya. A small smile touched his lips. I admire you. It takes incredible strength to survive what you've survived and still create beauty. The compliment hit me harder than it should have. When was the last time someone had seen me as strong instead of broken? We start next week, I said, pulling up my calendar. Monday at 7 p.m. I close the studio to other clients for back pieces. Privacy is important. Perfect. He moved toward the door, then paused. Maya? That man who hurt you? He made a mistake coming here tonight. What do you mean? He showed me his face. Now I know who I'm dealing with. The smile that crossed Adrian's features wasn't pleasant. It was the smile of a predator who'd just spotted prey. And men like him? They're not used to dealing with men like me. After he left, I locked the door and sagged against it, my heart racing. Through the window, I could see 2 figures taking up positions across the street. Adrian's security team already in place. For the first time in 3 years, I felt something other than fear. I felt hope. The call. That night in my tiny apartment above a bodega, I couldn't sleep. Every creak made me jump. Every car passing below sounded like Derek's truck. I checked the locks 3 times, pushed my dresser in front of the door, and finally gave up on rest. Instead, I sketched. The phoenix Adrian wanted, rising from flames with wings spread wide. But as I drew, the bird's face started to look human. Feminine. A woman breaking free from chains made of fire. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. My finger hovered over the delete button, but something made me open it. Your security team reports all quiet. Building is secure. You can rest. Adrian. How did he get my number? Then I remembered the business card I'd filled out months ago at an art supply store. He really had done his research. I should have been creeped out. Instead, I felt protected. Thank you, I typed back. For everything today. 3 dots appeared immediately, like he'd been waiting for my response. Thank you for trusting me. Sleep well, Maya. Tomorrow we start building something better. I fell asleep with my phone in my hand, the sketch of the Phoenix woman on my nightstand, and for the first time in years, I didn't dream of fire and pain. I dreamed of wings and freedom and eyes as blue as a dangerous sky. Part 2, Ink and Obsession. The first session. Monday came faster than I expected. I spent the day preparing, sterilizing equipment 3 times, sketching and resketching the design. By 7 p.m., my hands were steady but my nerves were shot. Adrian arrived exactly on time, flanked by the same 2 security guards I'd seen all week. They'd become fixtures outside my studio, silent and watchful. Derek hadn't returned, but I'd felt him watching from somewhere. That crawling sensation between my shoulder blades that meant predator eyes were tracking my movements. "Ready?" Adrian asked, shrugging out of his jacket. Underneath, he wore a simple black t-shirt that revealed arms corded with lean muscle. Not the bulk of a gym rat, but the practical strength of someone who'd done real physical work. "Ready." I gestured to the chair. "Shirt off, face down. This first session will be outlining the basic structure. It'll take about 4 hours." He stripped off his shirt without hesitation, and I had to force myself to maintain professional distance. His back was a canvas of old scars. Thin white lines that could have been knife wounds. A puckered circle that looked like a bullet had passed through his shoulder. And words in Cyrillic script across his ribs that I couldn't read. "Combat?" I asked, running my gloved fingers over the scars to feel the texture of his skin. I needed to know how the ink would take. Various situations. Occupational hazards of the security business. He settled into the chair, his voice muffled. "The words say she flies above angels. For Elena." My throat tightened. "That's beautiful. She deserved beautiful things. I failed to give them to her. In life. It's the least I can do now. The stories we carry." As I worked, filling in the outline of wings spreading across his shoulder blades, we talked. At first about simple things, favorite foods, movies, the best coffee shops in Brooklyn. But as the hours passed and the endorphins from the pain kicked in, our conversation went deeper. "Why did you stay with him?" Adrian asked suddenly. "Derek. After the first time he hurt you." I should have been offended by the question. But something about the dim lighting, the intimate act of marking his skin, the walls I'd built starting to crack. "Because I thought I could fix him," I admitted. "Because he cried and apologized and swore he'd change. Because I'd invested 2 years, and leaving felt like admitting failure." I paused, wiping away excess ink. "And because I was terrified of what he'd do if I tried." "You weren't wrong to be scared. The night he burned me, I'd finally gotten strong enough to leave. I had a place lined up, a friend's couch I could crash on. My bags were packed." The memory made my hands shake slightly. I stopped, taking a breath. "He begged me to make him dinner. One last meal together. Said he'd accept my decision if I'd just give him that." "And you believed him?" "I wanted to believe him. There's a difference." I resumed working, the needle's buzz filling the silence. He seemed calm, reasonable. We made pasta together like we had 100 times before. Then I reached for the door, and he just snapped. Grabbed the pot of boiling water and threw it at me. Jesus, Maya. I was lucky, actually. It could have been my face. Could have been worse. I'd told myself that so many times it almost felt true. The scars on my hands are from blocking it. Instinct. There's no luck in surviving violence. Only strength. Adrian's voice was rough with emotion. "You saved yourself that night. Remember that. The business of revenge." "Tell me about your company," I said, needing to shift the conversation. "Sentinel Security Solutions. What does that actually mean?" "We provide protection for people who need it. Sometimes it's straightforward bodyguard work for celebrities or executives. Sometimes it's more complicated." "Complicated how?" Sometimes people need protection from threats the law can't handle. He paused. Or won't handle, which is more often the case. That sounds almost vigilante. Does it? I could hear the smile in his voice. We work within the law. Mostly. We gather evidence, build cases, connect victims with resources. We just do it more efficiently than police who are overwhelmed and underfunded. And the times you don't work within the law? I didn't say that. But his tone suggested I was right. Let's just say that sometimes justice and law aren't the same thing. Sometimes you have to create your own justice. The words should have scared me. Instead, they made me feel powerful. Like maybe Derek's reign of terror could actually end. The investigation. I had my team look into Derek, Adrian said during a break. I was stretching my hands, working out the cramps. He sat up, rolling his shoulders carefully to avoid disturbing the fresh ink. And? You're not his first victim. He has a pattern. Adrian's jaw tightened. 3 ex-girlfriends before you, all with restraining orders. One pressed charges, but they were dropped when she suddenly left the state. Another was found dead, ruled a suicide, but the circumstances were suspicious. My blood ran cold. Dead? Carbon monoxide poisoning in her garage. Supposedly accidental. But Derek's car was seen in her neighborhood that night. Adrian's eyes met mine. The investigation was sloppy. Or bought. Hard to tell which. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to understand what you're dealing with. Derek isn't going to stop because of a restraining order. He's escalating, and men like him don't de-escalate on their own. So what do? You let me handle it. Adrian stood, moving closer. We were inches apart, and I could feel the heat radiating from his skin, see the places where my ink had already started to settle into his flesh. But I need your permission. I need you to trust me completely. Trust you to do what? Whatever it takes to ensure you're safe. His hand came up, hovering near my face but not touching. Asking permission. Whatever it takes to make sure he never hurts anyone again. I should have asked more questions. Should have demanded details. But standing there in my studio, marked with years of fear and survival, looking into the eyes of a man who'd turned his sister's death into a crusade for justice, I made a choice. Do it, I whispered. Do whatever it takes. The first kiss. Adrian's hand finally touched my face, his thumb tracing my cheekbone with infinite gentleness. You're sure? I'm sure. And I was. For the first time in years, I was absolutely certain of something. Maya. My name was a prayer and a promise. I need you to understand something. Once I start this, once I fully commit to protecting you, I won't be able to walk away. I don't do things halfway. What are you saying? I'm saying that somewhere between researching you for this tattoo and watching you work tonight, creating something beautiful while carrying so much pain, I've become invested in more than just your safety. His other hand found my waist, steadying me. I'm saying that I want to burn down every threat to your happiness. And I'm saying that includes my own growing feelings, if they make you uncomfortable. My heart hammered against my ribs. Adrian. You don't have to respond. I just need you to know where I stand. He started to pull away, but I grabbed his wrist. What if I said your feelings don't make me uncomfortable? The words came out barely above a whisper. What if I said that for the first time in years, I feel like I can breathe when you're around? His eyes darkened. Then I'd say I'm going to kiss you. Now, if you'll let me. Yes. He kissed me like I was precious. Like I might shatter if he wasn't careful. His lips were soft against mine, questioning, waiting for me to respond. When I did, when I rose up on my toes and threaded my scarred hands through his hair, his control slipped slightly. The kiss deepened, and I tasted his hunger, his restraint, his promise to keep me safe. When we finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. I'm going to destroy him, Adrian murmured. Derek. I'm going to take apart his life piece by piece until there's nothing left but consequences. Good, I breathed. He deserves it. The Watcher returns. We finished the session near midnight. Adrian's back was wrapped in protective covering, and I'd given him detailed aftercare instructions. His guards waited outside, patient as statues. Tomorrow night? Adrian asked, shrugging carefully into his shirt. Tomorrow's my day off. I need to let your skin heal anyway. We'll pick up again on Thursday. Then let me take you to dinner tomorrow. Real food, not bodega sandwiches. I smiled despite myself. How do you know I eat bodega sandwiches? Educated guess based on the collection of receipts I saw in your trash. You went through my trash? My team did. Standard security protocol. He didn't even look apologetic. I know it seems invasive, but I need to understand every aspect of your life to protect you properly. I should have been angry. Instead, I felt cared for. When was the last time someone had paid this much attention to me? Dinner sounds nice, I admitted. But nowhere too fancy. I don't own the clothes for fancy. You could wear a garbage bag and still be the most beautiful woman in the room. He kissed my forehead, gentle and possessive. 7 p.m. I'll pick you up at your apartment. After he left, I cleaned my station and locked up. His security team followed me home at a discreet distance. I was starting to recognize them, Dimitri, the tall one with the scar, and Marcus, who looked like he could bench press a car. I was halfway up the stairs to my apartment when I saw it. A single red rose on my doorstep. No note needed. I knew who it was from. Derek had been here. My phone was in my hand before I consciously decided to call. Adrian answered on the first ring. What's wrong? He was here. At my apartment. He left a rose. Don't touch it. Don't go inside. I'm 5 minutes away. I heard car doors slamming, engine starting. Stay with Marcus and Dimitri. I'm coming. Those 5 minutes felt like hours. When Adrian's car screeched to a stop, he was out and beside me before the engine even turned off. Show me. I pointed to the rose. Even in the dim hallway light, it looked wrong. Wilted, dying. The thorns looked sharper than they should. Adrian pulled out a handkerchief, carefully lifting the rose. There's a note. He unfolded a piece of paper that had been wrapped around the stem. Beautiful things die when you don't take care of them. Remember that. The promise of war. That's it, Adrian said, his voice deadly calm. Dimitri, I want full surveillance on Derek Mitchell starting now. I want to know everywhere he goes, everyone he talks to, every breath he takes. Marcus, sweep Maya's apartment. Make sure he didn't get inside. Adrian, I touched his arm. What are you going to do? He turned to me, and the expression on his face made me step back. It wasn't anger. It was something far more dangerous. It was cold, calculated fury. I'm going to give Derek Mitchell exactly what he's been begging for, Adrian said softly. I'm going to show him what happens when you threaten something that belongs to me. I don't belong to anyone. Wrong. He pulled me close, one hand tangling in my hair. You belong to yourself. But you're also mine to protect. Mine to care for. And mine to avenge if anyone tries to hurt you again. His lips brushed my temple. Derek just declared war. He has no idea who he's dealing with. Marcus emerged from my apartment. All clear inside. No signs of entry. But I found this on the fire escape. He held up a telephoto camera lens. He's been watching her. The violation of it made me feel sick. How long had Derek been photographing me? What had he seen? That's it. You're not staying here. Adrian's tone left no room for argument. Pack a bag. You're coming to my place. I can't just leave my home. Your home isn't safe anymore. My penthouse has security that would make Fort Knox jealous. You'll stay there until Derek is handled. For how long? As long as it takes. He cupped my face in his hands. I told you, Maya. I don't do things halfway. You're under my protection now, completely. That means you follow my rules. And rule number 1 is you don't take unnecessary risks. I should have fought him. Should have insisted on my independence. But looking at that wilted rose, thinking about Derek watching me through my windows, I felt my resistance crumble. Okay, I whispered. But I need to bring my art supplies. If I'm going to be stuck somewhere, I need to be able to work. Bring whatever you need. My driver will come back tomorrow for anything else. He kissed me, hard and possessive. You're mine now, Maya. And I protect what's mine with everything I have. As we drove through the dark streets of Brooklyn, my hastily packed bag in the trunk, I watched the city lights blur past and wondered what I'd just agreed to. I was putting my life in the hands of a man I'd known for a week. A man who kissed me like he owned me. A man who promised violence against my enemies. And the scariest part? I wasn't afraid. For the first time in 3 years, I felt alive. Part 3, Beautiful Revenge. The Fortress. Adrian's penthouse occupied the entire top floor of a building in Tribeca. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered views of Manhattan that probably cost more than I'd make in a lifetime. The interior was all clean lines and expensive materials, but surprisingly warm. Art covered the walls, real pieces, museum quality. I recognized a small Kandinsky, what might be an early Rothko. You collect? I asked, setting my bag down in the massive entryway. I appreciate beauty. Especially beauty that's survived hardship. He guided me deeper into the space. The Kandinsky was rescued from a Nazi train. The Rothko was found in a basement after a house fire. They're survivors, like you. That's a lot of pressure to put on art. Art handles pressure better than people. It just becomes more valuable. He showed me to a guest room that was larger than my entire apartment. This is yours. Private bathroom, walk-in closet, balcony if you want fresh air. There's a studio set up for you on the east side of the penthouse. Northern light, all the supplies you could need. You set up a studio? When? This afternoon. I had a feeling you'd need it. His smile was slight. Call it optimistic preparation. The plan unfolds. That night, we sat in Adrian's office while he laid out his plan. His team had been busy. Photos covered a massive screen on the wall, Derek's apartment, his workplace, his usual hangouts. But also photos of other women. Young, pretty, all with that same haunted look I recognized from my mirror. These are his targets, Adrian explained. 7 women he's had restraining orders against. 2 are deceased under suspicious circumstances. The others scattered to different states. But there's a pattern. What pattern? He chooses women who are isolated. No strong family connections, no robust friend groups. Women who won't be missed immediately if something happens. Adrian's jaw tightened. You fit his profile perfectly. Single mother, estranged from family, working 2 jobs, exhausted and vulnerable. I don't have a child. But he doesn't know that. Your friend Zoe's daughter visits you at the studio sometimes. Derek saw her with you and Ma. Assumptions. Adrian pulled up surveillance footage showing Derek outside my studio, photographing me through the window. In the video, Zoe's 4-year-old was hugging my leg. He thinks you have a child to threaten. Another form of control. The coldness of Derek's calculation made my stomach turn. So what do we do? We build a legal case so airtight that even his father's money can't save him. Adrian switched screens. Derek's father is Judge Robert Mitchell, which explains why previous charges were dropped. But even judges can't protect their children from federal crimes. Federal? Derek's been stalking across state lines. He followed his last victim to Oregon before she died. That makes it federal jurisdiction. No local judge can make that disappear. Adrian's smile was sharp. My team has already contacted 3 of his surviving victims. They're willing to testify if they're protected. Combined with the evidence we're gathering now, we can bury him. The confrontation. 3 days later, Adrian's plan kicked into motion. The FBI was contacted with an anonymous tip, pointing them toward the evidence Adrian's team had compiled. Surveillance footage showing Derek violating restraining orders. Financial records showing suspicious payments. And most damning, recovered data from his computers showing he'd been stalking all his victims online, collecting photos, personal information, daily routines. But Derek wasn't going quietly. I was in Adrian's studio, working on a new piece, when the building's security called. Derek Mitchell was in the lobby, demanding to see me. He'd followed me somehow, figured out where I was staying. "Don't let him up," Adrian said into the phone. Then to me, "Stay here. Lock the door." "Adrian, what are you going to do?" "I'm going to have a conversation with him. Man to man." The look in his eyes was predatory. "And I'm going to make sure he understands exactly what happens if he ever comes near you again. You can't hurt him. If you do, you'll get in trouble, and he'll use it against you. I'm not going to touch him." Adrian's smile was cold. "I'm just going to show him what he's up against." I watched through the penthouse's security cameras as Adrian met Derek in the lobby. Even through the screen, I could see the difference between them. Adrian stood tall, confident, completely in control. Derek looked smaller somehow, despite being roughly the same height. Diminished by Adrian's presence. Their conversation was brief. Adrian said something, showed Derek his phone. Derek's face went white. He stumbled backward, shaking his head. Then he ran, literally ran from the building. When Adrian returned to the penthouse, I was waiting by the elevator. "What did you show him?" "Evidence." Adrian pulled me into his arms. "Everything we've collected. Photos of his victims. Documentation of his stalking. Financial records. And a reminder that his father's position won't save him from federal charges." He kissed my forehead. "Also showed him that he's being watched 24/7. Every move he makes is documented. If he so much as sends you an email, we'll know. Will it be enough?" "For now. But men like Derek don't change, Maya. They just get sneakier." His arms tightened around me. "Which is why we're not stopping. We're going to make sure he never has the opportunity to hurt anyone again." The testimony. 2 weeks later, I sat in a federal prosecutor's office, giving my statement. 3 other women were there too, Derek's previous victims. We'd met briefly before the meeting, a support group of survivors who'd decided to stop being victims. Rachel had been Derek's girlfriend in college. He'd broken her arm in 2 places. Jenna had dated him 5 years ago. He'd burned her with cigarettes when she displeased him. Alicia, the most recent before me, had nearly died when Derek ran her car off the road. And then there was me, with my scarred hands and years of fear. The prosecutor, a sharp-eyed woman named Assista. U.S. Attorney Chen, listened to all our stories. Then she smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant expression. "Ladies, I've been prosecuting domestic violence cases for 15 years. Most of the time, I'm fighting with local police who don't take it seriously, judges who think it's a private matter, and victims who are too scared to testify." She opened a file that had to be 3 inches thick. "But this? This is different. We have documentation, surveillance, cross-state stalking, and 4 brave women willing to stand up." Derek Mitchell is going to prison, and I'm going to make sure he never gets out. The arrest. It happened at Derek's workplace. Adrian had timed it perfectly. Middle of the day, maximum witnesses, maximum humiliation. FBI agents in full tactical gear arrested Derek Mitchell for federal stalking, attempted murder, and a dozen other charges. I watched it on the news from Adrian's penthouse, his arms around me as cameras captured Derek being led away in handcuffs. His face was red with rage and shame. His father was there too, trying to intervene, until an FBI agent explained that Judge Mitchell's interference could result in his own obstruction charges. "It's over," I whispered, unable to believe it. "It's really over." "It's over," Adrian confirmed, turning me to face him. "He's going to prison for a very long time. The prosecutor is asking for 25 years minimum." I started crying then. 3 years of fear, of looking over my shoulder, of wondering when Derek would finally kill me. It all came pouring out in huge, shaking sobs. Adrian held me through it, stroking my hair, murmuring reassurances in English and Russian. When I finally pulled back, his shirt was soaked with my tears. "Sorry," I managed, wiping my face. "Never apologize for feeling safe enough to fall apart." He kissed my forehead, my cheeks, my lips. "You survived, Maya. You won. Now you get to live." The tattoo completion. Over the next 3 months, I completed Adrian's back piece. The phoenix emerged across his shoulders, wings spread wide, rising from flames that wrapped around his ribs. But I'd added something to the original design. In the flames, barely visible unless you looked closely, were the faces of women. His sister Elena, Rachel, Jenna, Alicia, and me. All of us rising from our own fires, transformed into something stronger. When I showed him the final design in a mirror, Adrian stood silent for a long moment. "It's perfect," he finally said, his voice rough. "It's everything I wanted and more." "We're all survivors," I explained. "The women who loved you, the women you saved. We're all part of your story now." He turned, pulling me close despite the fresh ink on his back. "And you're the most important part. You're the reason I wake up wanting to be better. The reason I remember that monsters can be stopped. You saved me, Adrian." "No." His fingers traced my scarred hand, gentle and reverent. "You saved yourself. I just gave you the backup you needed. There's a difference." The gallery opening. 6 months after Derek's arrest, my first solo exhibition opened at a prestigious gallery in Chelsea. Adrian had arranged it, using his connections in the art world, but the work was all mine. 20 pieces, all exploring themes of survival, transformation, and resurrection. The centerpiece was a massive canvas showing a woman made of fire, her scars glowing like molten gold, breaking free from chains. It was called Phoenix Rising and it sold before the doors even opened. Adrian bought it. Said it belonged in his home, in our home, because that's what the penthouse had become. I'd never officially moved in, but my art supplies had migrated there, my clothes filled the closet in the guest room I never slept in anymore. I spent every night in Adrian's bed, wrapped in his arms, finally sleeping without nightmares.